If challenges arise, if you relapse, if you slide back, don't give up. Don't let that be an excuse for you to just give up completely on that thing that you really wanted to commit to and that you made the commitment to yourself that you were going to follow through with. Hello, my mindful humans. Welcome back to my channel. It's Mike. Let's talk about New Year's resolutions. It's that time of year. We're on the very last day of 2020 when I'm recording this. And resolutions are something that you can make any day of the year, right? Just deciding that you want to shift something, that you want to improve something about yourself or about your life or about your circumstances. But there actually is some research to show that New Year's resolutions, ones that you make at the beginning of a new year, actually are like 10 times more likely to be successful than resolutions that you just make on any random day of the year with no significance to them. So that's a really important thing to think. Like, people will say like, oh, is it worth it to, what's the difference between New Year's resolutions? I can just change any day. Yes, and there's actually some research to show that it does something to make people more committed and more accountable to those resolutions when they're made at the beginning of a fresh year. So my first tip is to just kind of get clear on what your state of health is. And I don't want to go into like a long spiel about how important diet and sleep and self-care are, but realistically, they're very, very important things. And how those fundamentals of your own state of optimal health are being taken care of will have a huge impact on how able you are to actually commit to a New Year's resolution and to actually want to keep up with it as it moves forward. Because if you're eating foods that are inflaming your body and causing inflammation of the brain, things like anxiety, things like depression, and just any number of negative emotions can really start to pop up and make that hurdle of accomplishing your New Year's resolution that much harder. My second tip for creating powerful and lasting New Year's resolutions is to start small. You don't want an overwhelming list of like 20 things that you think need to change about yourself starting on January 1st. Be specific, like 1 to 3 things. Be really clear on what you want those resolutions to look like. Not like I want to get healthy in 2021, but bringing it down to the smallest scale you can. Don't do years, don't do months of the year. Get into weeks. Like I'm gonna take a 10-minute walk 4 days a week. That's a really concrete resolution that you can follow up with. 30-minute walk, 45-minute walk, maybe that ends up happening, but I would say like recommending to start smaller so that those resolutions are achievable and you're gonna really quickly have success so that you'll wanna keep moving forward. And before you know it, the 10 minutes is 20 minutes, is 30 minutes, and you've created a habit that's lasting throughout the year. Once you've decided on that shorter list of resolutions that you feel like you can really commit to, get accountable. Don't just leave them stored in your brain. Write them down in a journal. Write them down on a piece of paper and stick them to your fridge or stick them up in front of your computer at your desk so that you see it regularly. And tell people. The more accountable you are to these resolutions, the more likely they are to stick. If you just keep it all to yourself, there is nobody that you feel accountable to if you decide to fall off the wagon. If you've told close friends and family members and you have it written down and declared out in the space that you're living in, it's just going to be that much more likely that you will catch yourself whenever you're sliding backwards and get back on track to moving forward with that resolution that you created. Once you're clear on the resolutions and you've created accountability by recording them and telling people, the next thing I would recommend is to start visualizing yourself. Like, foresee an action plan. How are you going to accomplish that goal? Foresee possible hurdles that you're going to have to get through, and then visualize potential solutions to those hurdles so that when those things pop up, they're not catching you blindside. You actually already have some idea of how you're going to tackle them and how you're going to move through them to be successful with those resolutions that you've committed to. Really important, after you visualize that action plan, write it down. Write down some of the things you think that you might struggle with. Write down some of the solutions that you came up with in that visualization. And this doesn't have to be a long process. Some of those things that you're worried about maybe getting in your way, you've probably tackled those things before, and you might already have some tools. And if you don't, then just getting clear on what might show up for you whenever it does present itself, if it does present itself, you're just going to be more prepared to be able to come at it analytically and get clear on what's there so you can move through it that much quicker. If you commit to something 99%, that 1% is always going to be there nagging at you. The potential to give up, the potential to slide back, the potential to give in. Instead of just making the 100% commitment, for maybe a shorter period of time, for the month of January, I'm going to do X, Y, Z, and I'm just going to commit to that and see what the outcome is. So much more powerful than, oh, for the whole year, I hope I'm going to do this, or I would like to do that. No, get concrete, get clear, and then stick with it as those challenges present themselves. As you might have relapses, record all of those things. It's really important. Like, your successes and your failures. If you have a really good day where there was maybe some triggers, where there was maybe some things that would have you fall backwards normally, and you overcame them and you walked through them, write those things down. Talk about in that moment what empowered you. And on the flip side of that, on those days where you might have a moment of weak willpower, where you might actually give in, where you might relapse, just don't make it a big deal, okay? In that moment, sure, you do that behavior that you committed to yourself to not do. Just acknowledge that you don't want to be doing that. You already told yourself this, you know it. And the next moment, right after you catch it, is an opportunity to begin again and to create a new start. Who cares if it doesn't succeed in every moment? Just do your best and keep at it every single opportunity that you get. Don't give up and begin again are two of the biggest tips that I can give you. Those two things will keep you at it. Just give up the belief that you can't do it. Come back and start fresh. Have a new perspective. Every single time you might relapse, it's an opportunity to learn what triggered you, what you need to do to move through those triggers in the future. If challenges arise, if you relapse, if you slide back, don't give up. Don't let that be an excuse for you to just give up completely on that thing that you really wanted to commit to and that you made the commitment to yourself that you were going to follow through with. So in that moment of giving up, in that moment of falling back, of relapsing with whatever it is that you're trying to create in your New Year's resolution, just get clear that you always have the opportunity to begin again, right? In your yoga practice, it's like the next breath, the next moment, every single breath of your life is a new moment to just commit to what it is that you said you wanted to do and follow through with it in a new way. And some of these things that can be done for New Year's resolutions can seem really hard. And if you've watched or listened to my videos on this channel, I am obsessed with changing the language of hard into challenging. Hard is like a table's hard, stone is hard. A challenge that presents itself to you, like changing your diet, becoming more active, being kinder to the people in your lives, caring more about your own self-care, all of those things, they're really a choice that you're making. And if you want to choose to face a challenge, every single opportunity you get, you can just rise to the challenge, okay? Different than something being hard, different than something being impossible, right? And if you have those stories, you're right. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you are right, okay? So just shift the story, shift the language to yes, I can, it is possible. Every single time you need to, you get yourself back on track and look for the lesson you learned and begin again. You can rise to the challenge, okay? Even if it's something that seems really hard, how can you get creative about possible ways to overcome that challenging situation and commit and stay committed to that resolution that you made in the beginning of the year? My resolutions this year are that I want to give up my vices in January. So, I have definitely had moments of real strength in 2020 where I felt really powerful and I was really keeping myself healthy and accountable. And I've had moments of pretty deep depression where I've allowed really toxic substances to come back into my life. Like, food is probably the biggest one for me. I also smoke some marijuana sometimes. It's legal in Canada, so there's absolutely no barrier to just getting that delivered to my front door, which, I prefer that over drinking. I don't really drink very much, but still I know that it's something that's numbing me and preventing me from being my biggest potential. So those are things that I'm committing to. It's giving up my vices. I'm committing to this 21-day plant-based power-up that's happening in January. I'm doing a 21-day plant-based challenge with a friend of mine, and I'm going to fully commit to being in that. I'm committing to my mom to do a grain-free challenge. I'm doing plant-based plus grain-free on top of that to help her with her own inflammation and tendinitis. So those are some of the resolutions that I'm going to stick to. I'm creating just the possibility that I can do these things. And, really keeping it as small, as powerful, as concrete as you can, and just sticking to it, beginning again if you slide backwards, and knowing that every single moment of your life is an opportunity for you to get creative and rise to the challenge that's in front of you. I hope that helps you create powerful and lasting New Year's resolutions in 2021. Please subscribe to my channel, like the video, share this with somebody that you think might need some advice about how to stay empowered in their New Year's resolutions, and comment below if any of these tips really do help you. I so like to know that the videos are reaching out and are helping you with your troubles in your life. Keep moving your body, keep nourishing your body, stay connected to your mindfulness practice, and stay committed to your New Year's resolutions in 2021. Have an awesome rest of your 2020. There might just be a few minutes. You might already be seeing this in 2021. Have an awesome rest of your day. I will see you again really soon.